What's going on, people? This is Critical Mess. This is episode 18. That means we're all grown up, according to Vince Vaughn. Were you guys Swingers fans?
Yep, still am, actually.
Yeah. Grizz, you ever see Swingers?
I don't know if I ever saw that, actually, no.
It's a really good movie. It's
Let's
kind
check
of
it out.
kind of a low-key comedy. Anyway, this is Critical Mess, and this is the podcast where some friends in the ad business rap about some movies that critics and audiences don't agree on. I am Nick Honeywell. I'm here with some other dudes. Mr. Griswold, Mr. Brian McCullough. Producer Ben is here.
Yes!
Yes. Yes, sir. Say what's up, guys.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? Let's do this.
Your name's Grizz, right?
It is Grizz, yes.
Hey, this is Brian McCullough, notable completionist, as is evident by the year 2019 when I watched all of Star Trek, original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager start to finish, including every single Star Trek movie.
Nerd.
Yeah, we're all very impressed. Mm-hmm.
And I'm producer Ben.
Well, tonight we are talking about one of those films. Spoiler alert! But before we get into that, we always like to do a little icebreaker. And tonight's icebreaker, it's a simple one. And the question is, just give me a scene that puts a big old grin on your face, a big smile. Just any scene that you watch over and over again on YouTube, or it just does it for you.
Step Brothers, when Brennan and Dale become best friends. Did we just become best friends? Yep.
Dang it. That was one of my answers. But I'm going to go ahead and go with my backup, just in case we did say Step Brothers together.
We're tracking on the same wavelength, man.
I'm going to go with one of my all-time favorite movies, Shawshank Redemption, when Andy Dufresne just gives that little smile at the end as he sees his friend walking up the beach. That's just fucking beautiful.
Freedom.
Yeah, I love it.
Mine's going to come from the kind of the same era as this movie we're talking about tonight, from my high school days. And as usual, I'm going to do two because I'm greedy. The first one is a movie that you all know that I love. I'm not sure our listener knows that I love, though, and that's Blade. And the opening sequence of Blade is one of my true favorite moments in film. It's just a satisfying ass-whooping that Wesley lays down on those vampires. The other one I'm going to go with is the opening sequence of Bad Boys 1, where the carjackers try and take Will Smith's fancy new Porsche, and Martin Lawrence goes all Wesley Snipes, Passenger 57 on that ass. I really do enjoy those two scenes.
Wesley Snipes represented in both answers.
I didn't even think of that.
Really well
I didn't even think.
done.
I mean, I guess that Wesley Snipes just
puts
does
a
it
smile
for
on
me.
your
I guess
face.
he puts a smile on my face.
You are a man's man, Nick.
Indeed. Okay. There's going to be spoilers in the discussion tonight. The movie we're talking about here came out in the year 2000. It is keeping with the spirit of our horror month, so it is a scary film. It is allegedly a scary film. I think we're going to talk about that a little bit. Stars Devon Sawa, Ali Larter, Kerr Smith, Tony Todd, and of course Stifler. It was directed by James Wong, and the movie is called Final Destination. This is, and like I said, this is the 2000 film, the original one, not to be confused with the film that came out in 2009 of the exact same name.
No, it's not. It's got a "the" at the beginning.
Oh, it does.
So it is slightly differentiated. It's The Final Destination.
Oh, well,
So-
thank you for telling me that nuance. I didn't
You're
even
welcome.
I didn't even realize that.
Thank me later.
So this movie cost $23 million to make, and it raked in about $113 million worldwide. So it was a solid hit, and unsurprisingly spawned a fair bit of sequels. I think there are 4 sequels to this movie. A super quick refresher about our criteria here at Critical Mess. The movies must be fresh on Rotten Tomatoes that we talk about with audiences, and rotten with critics, or vice versa. And that disparity between the two groups needs to be at least 20% or so. This movie, Final Destination, happens to get what I'd call a fairly fetid 36% with critics. and I'd say a somewhat healthy 68% with audiences. So we've got more than a 30% gap on this one, which is fairly significant.
And to round out the out of 10s, the critic out of 10 is a 4.9 out of 10 average rating, and audience is 7.4 out of 10. So also telling of the percentage.
Yep. Yeah. So we've got some disagreements on this one. So let's get right into it. Gentlemen, what was our first exposure to this film? How many times have we seen it over the years, and when did we see it?
I saw it in the theater, probably opening weekend. I think I saw it in the theater twice because the first act of the movie just left such an indelible mark on me that I just had to go see it again. And then I've seen it maybe twice since then, including yesterday.
Yeah, I was 13 at the time, and as I've said before, I had a fun connection with my friend's sister who would just let us into the theater during the summer and let us go see whatever movies we wanted.
Lucky.
I know. So yeah, I saw it at least twice, probably, just because of that same, like going to see it again because it was so hot at the time.
Twice in the theater?
Yep.
Nice.
And you haven't seen it since then?
I don't think I have seen it since. I've seen clips here and there over the years, but I've watched it all the way through since then.
Yeah, I saw it. I probably rented it from Blockbuster. I know I didn't see it in the theater, but I know I rented it like right when it was available to rent. So I saw it then, and I saw it last night. Those are the two times.
I'm glad you brought up Blockbuster because the nostalgia of Blockbuster is going to tie into Brian's Corner tonight.
Ooh, I can't wait. Okay. Now, I think, is generally the time where we thank our sponsor for the evening. And tonight, we are dual sponsored. We're dual sponsored tonight. Our favorite year, the best of years, 1792, our old friend. It's like a warm blanket. We thank you, 1792, for warming us up on this somewhat chilly autumn eve. And our other sponsor is another sponsor that's sponsored us one other time. It's Guinness Drought, right? Isn't that how you say it?
Draught.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Guinness, I think it's Drug Hut.
I think it's how dragon is spelled in Irish. The Guinness Dragon?
Droggett?
Yeah, or Drognut?
Dreadnought.
They're going to really want to pay us for real for these ad reads, for sure. So...
Well, we do write them brilliant copy. So, yeah, I thank you, Guinness. We love your smooth dragon would. Yeah. Okay, we're never gonna get a sponsor, are we? Okay,
no, we're not.
Moving on.
All right, so guys, now what we do is rate the movie. So I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna give this movie a very sexual 69.
Ooh.
So. I like this movie. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was amateurish in a lot of ways, which I expected. But I thought, despite some rough dialogue and some pretty standard and average, cinematography and camera work, excellent high concept, excellent. And honestly, the acting and whatnot, not so bad. I thought it was serviceable for this. So just as a whole, and I did have a couple of big problems with this movie that we're definitely gonna get into. But overall, I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. I liked it even more than you did. 77, and I'll definitely. So I can pretty much account for those 23 lost points, and I will do so when we flip the script. But aside from what this movie does wrong, everything else about it. There's nothing middle of the road here. It's either I really liked everything about it, and the things I didn't like, I hated. There was nothing that I was like, whatever. So yeah, 77. I feel good about that.
That's a strong score.
Yeah,
that's great.
Are we going to argue tonight, Grizz? Are we going to argue?
No, we are not. I was about to.
Grizz
I was going to flip
exciting.
my phone around and show you guys the score. That if
can't-
you remember
it's
our
so
ruling,
small.
I can't see it.
it is 69.
Oh my
shit.
God.
You also gave it a 69?
We have a double.
I had to open my phone to make sure you guys saw this, but it's 69 at the top.
What about this movie
so-
caused you guys to give it the sexual number?
If you do not recall, you need to pick your drinks up and finish whatever drink we have in front of
man.
us as we
This
made
is
this
gonna be
rule
great
in
audio
episode
content.
2, maybe. So
Dragon Nut down the hatch.
I don't know what everybody has. I don't know if it's anything.
Ben, by the way, can you, every time we say sexual this episode, will you bleep that, please?
Yeah, hold on. Let me get it. Hold on.
Sexual.
Oh,
Too late.
I missed it.
Get
Damn
quicker
it.
on the trigger finger. Wow. It took us, 18 episodes to double up on a percentage point? I knew it was bound to happen.
Guys, I literally just poured this fucking beer and I just slammed the last one.
I just pounded this one.
It's going to get good.
Well, good thing
really
you're
good.
at home.
That's good content.
Anyway,
Bring it home, baby.
anyway, okay, so we tied.
It was
Amazing.
perfectly suited
That's fun.
for this film.
I like to think that Grizz saw you just pour that beer and then he just typed on his phone real quick 69 just to force you to
It was our
finish.
final destination.
I don't even care.
I picked it
Nice.
because this movie had zero sexual tension like
I know,
most slasher films. So
You'd think it
Oh,
would
I
have
disagree. I thought this movie had some sexual. I thought
sexual tension, but not like over the top, just sexualization of just
Well,
typical slasher film. But
we're gonna probably get into that
yeah, we will.
a little bit. Because death is inherently sexy. Anyway.
Mac Daddy.
Okay, so now what we generally do is we talk about, kind of the crux of the show, right? Why do critics and audiences not agree on this film? And we do have a pretty big gap here. So, Brian, I'm going to kick it over to you to talk a little bit about, I'm sure the thorough and deep research that you've done here tonight for us, and let us know what you were able to uncover.
I got to say that with this one, there was a lot less sort of polarization with the critics and the audience. There was actually some really, really well thought out and written audience reviews. So I feel like I owe it to the audience that I usually lambast and make fun of. I owe it to them to say, hey, good job on Final Destination. You actually thought about things and wrote them on the internet. So good job. But I'm going to start with the critics. I'm going to read 4 critic reviews with a thought about each one and get your reactions. The consensus on Rotten Tomatoes. Despite a panel of X-Files alums at the helm and a promising premise, flighty performances and poor execution keep Final Destination from ever taking off. All right, Sean P. Means, film.com. It's hard to root against death when the people involved are never brought to life in the first place. So I feel like he's kind of hitting on the performances. He's saying they're bad. I read that in several of the critic reviews. What do you guys think about that?
That the characters weren't fully like fleshed out.
I think
or
acting performances
specifically.
Yeah,
I thought the acting was actually really good. I mean, they went for it, but
I thought some of it was pretty shitty, but I thought the main kid was good. I thought he kind of carried it, and he wasn't like some, he's not, Daniel Day-Lewis or anything, but he was not bad, especially given what he was given to work with. I think some of the other cast was rough around the edges, but since he was the main star, I think that helped a lot.
Who would you say was the worst?
Oh man, I thought Miss Luton was pretty rough.
Yeah, yeah.
She was nice to.
She was nice the hell out of me. Stay away from me.
Yeah, that was. She was nice to look at, but she was not Meryl Streep out there. I also thought that I'm gonna call her poor man's Taylor Swift, PMTS.
Oh, Allie Larder.
Yeah, Allie Larder. And it's just the bangs, really. But
Poor man's Taylor Swift. But she gets the blonde hair and the new do at the end when they're in Paris.
she does. Man, that was
She looks so
one
much better.
one of my major slow burn points. So
Okay, so
thanks for
let's just put a pin in that.
firing that shot off.
Sorry, Grizz. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Performance?
I
acting?
I think Sawa definitely carried most of these actors. I mean, Sean William Scott was an extreme version of himself from American Pie. I don't know if that came out before or after. Probably after this.
Oh, the American Pie was before this.
Oh, right before this, yeah. But yeah, I think the acting was pretty solid. I mean, it was just Sawa outside of the cabin scene, which we may get to later. But I think he did pretty well selling it in his fear and like his devotion to like the whole scheme and all that.
Yeah, none of the actors took me out of it. There was nothing that was super cringe. Obviously, this cast is not A-listers. I mean, it's kind of a sad thing when you go to Google and you type in Final Destination cast and then you hit the show more and it literally shows like a grid of all the headshots of the entire cast of the movie. It's just do that. Maybe don't, because like it'll just make you sad to know that all these people just don't have careers and like they were
It's
in this big
immediately
movie.
what I do every time with any of these movies to see what they've done since.
You just think there's so many actors out there and like barely a small percentage of them like are actually continuing to be in movies, and you got to think to yourself, what's the rest of it's like an NFL player, like what's the rest of their life like? Anyway, okay, so we've talked about the performances. I did find Stephen Holden's review, and his his kind of refers to how well the movie is made instead of the acting. He says, even by the crude standards of teenage horror, Final Destination is dramatically flat. So, yeah, I guess he's just saying, I guess what would you call it? Dramatically flat? Just no drama? Just not written well? Like
I kind of understand. I mean, I think I understand what he's saying because I kind of agree with that a little bit, even though I like the movie. I thought that it was, I didn't think there was a lot of drama or emotion in the movie. I mean, but meaningful. You know, like I was never really like scared in this movie at all. Like Paranormal Activity, or the last episode we talked about. Like that was a pretty scary movie. Like I can see why, and I'd never seen it before, and I see why people like that movie and think it's scary. I get that. This movie, fun and entertaining, but not high drama. To me, very kind of predictable and formulaic, but enjoyable.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think that makes sense. And finally, Phoebe Flowers from the Miami Herald. The main problem is that Morgan and Wong, who are the writer and director, I think, don't seem to have a clear idea of what they want. Campy, schlocky, slasher flick, or moody, intelligent thriller. And as a result, they create neither. So I think she seems to have a problem with the tone of the movie. She seems to think that it doesn't really have an identity. It doesn't latch on to a specific tone. And I'll just say this, I obviously ask you guys too, but I think the tone of this movie is perfect. I think this movie knows exactly what it is, and it stays sort of ominous and creepy and dreadful, but it doesn't take itself too seriously because it knows that those death gimmicks are just wild and crazy, and it also has some humor with Sean William Scott. The end scene when he's in the cabin and he's sort of like putting corks on the nails, and he's like got the gloves to open the tuna, and he's sitting there and he's kind of sweating this old man in a cabin, and it's kind of comedic without being absurd or like overly comedic, and it's just that they really dance that line of the tone in this movie pretty well. So I think Phoebe is dead wrong.
Not Sean William Scott, by the way. That was Devin Sawa.
Well, sorry, I conflated two things. Sean William Scott was comedic
relief. Yeah.
but like just his character, and then in addition to that, the cabin example.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
okay.
thank you, because I think I kind of spoke those two in the same sentence. What about you guys? Do you think, how was the tone for you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I think you said it pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, you nailed it. I think the tone was really really well done. The thing that got me was like the first act felt very dark, and then it kind of got a little bit more hokey, but you were just along for the ride at that point. You kind of slowly but surely built on the mythos of all these things that are happening with death and how it's chasing them and all these things. It just slowly built. It didn't just make you figure things out on your own. It kind of slowly built to it.
And I think what really lent to that, the first act was probably the most ominous, but I think it kept going. I think it was three things. I think it was the soundtrack. This movie had a way better soundtrack than it needed to have. Very, very orchestral, swelling soundtrack. Also, the weather. I mean, it was always dark and storming and raining, and that always kind of makes you feel sort of, like there's peril around the corner. And then with the cinematography, this movie had some really good cinematography. It had some camera movements that were very interesting, some kind of top downs that kind of were a oneer into like a close up, and had some sort of some panning stuff, and the interesting kind of Rube Goldberg death mechanics. I mean, there's a lot of good cinematography. So I think those three things lent to the tone here.
It definitely added to it.
Sorry, Rube Goldberg death mechanics. I like that's a fun phrase.
That's a good band name.
It's a really good band name. It's a great name for a lot of things.
That just came out of my head. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Just
Yeah.
put that one in your
great.
back pocket.
Did
Okay?
you guys ever have to make a Rube Goldberg machine in high school?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I went to Purdue too.
Oh, I'm sure you did. Yeah.
Fancy pants.
Finally, the GOAT, Roger Ebert. He liked it, guys. Roger
Whoa.
Ebert liked it.
Yeah.
That
tracks.
We're all correct in our ratings because Roger Ebert liked this. He says smarter and more original than most dead teenager movies. He gave it a 3 out of 4. So good job, Roger. So yeah, I would say to sum that up, critics just seemed to kind of, they're not looking at the high concept. They're not looking at sort of the originality as much as they're looking at sort of the craft and performance. And I guess, it would make sense as to why it's got a 38, but
I'm blown away by it being that low. At 38 or 36, well, I don't remember what it is, but that's just insane to think that they would shit on it that hard for, I don't know. I thought the mythology behind it all alone was interesting enough to give it at least a 50, 60 range. But
Can I just let you guys know just one thing here, real quick?
yeah. Are we listening to Critical Mess?
That is what we're listening to. But more important than that, we are sponsored by the Best of Year 1792 and Guinness Dragnut. And we're excited about both of those. So thank you. Thank you. 1792, the year of the Dragnut. I feel like there's something there. Okay,
Dreadnought.
I'm gonna shut up now.
We can take it while we're on the subject. If we want to peek at audience reviews, we can. Otherwise, we can come back to that later. I don't know.
Yeah, let's pop that off.
Okay, just a few this time. I'm not going to lambast them again, like I said, like I've done before, because they actually have some well thought out stuff. But one thing was interesting. There's very few 1 or 5 star reviews. Audiences typically rate with their emotions, and you'll either get a 1 or a 5 star. You know what I mean? Those are the most common reviews. You don't get a lot of like nuanced 3 and 2.5 star reviews. Well, this one had lots of those. So it's I don't know what that says about the movie, but Lord B says, amazing concept with ugly actors. I would have made the movie with busty babes, especially Latinas. Is not Netflixed? 10 out of 10. Lord B, God bless you.
I'm not going to touch that.
Yep, we better just leave that one where it lies. Stephen Paul C. The greatest 1 hour and 37 minutes ever with 15 exclamation points, 10 out of 10. Not much to say there. He loved it. Greatest 1 hour and 37 minutes ever.
I like that we were expecting eloquence.
Yeah. Well, so the next one is eloquent. I just wanted to kind of throw a couple of those in there. I love what Patrick C. says about this movie. Whoever you are out there, Patrick C., if you've recently rated Final Destination on Rotten Tomatoes and you coincidentally are listening to Critical Mess, holler at your boy because, great stuff. Somehow I've gone 30 years without ever watching this. People talked about it a lot when I was in school. I was always intrigued but too scared to watch. I've only recently gotten into the horror genre. I must say it's not at all what I was expecting. The tone is more lighthearted, almost sweet. Clearly this movie is made for young teenagers despite the R rating. I did enjoy it, but it didn't feel like a horror movie to me. I was honestly underwhelmed by the gore factor compared to the hype. It was almost slapstick outside of the initial plane scene. Certainly worth a watch, and I think it deserves its status as a modernish teen classic. He doesn't really say a lot there, but it's interesting to see the viewpoint of somebody who is not a horror fan, and he gives it a 7 out of 10.
You kind of give us a whole narrative there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That first, I think the first act for sure, the plane and the first death, I think built and felt like a different movie. It was very dark. It was very twisted.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think it got a little bit more campy as the film went on after the halfway point. But that first act was just insanity to me. I just remember it vividly.
So I'm glad you brought that up. I want to get you guys' take on this. So Anonymous says, brilliant opening scene, but sadly the rest of the film largely wastes the great setup. I would give 5 stars for the opening scene and around 1 for the rest, and he gives the movie a 5 out of 10. So
a man of his word.
That's an interesting way to look at a movie. He rates the first act a 10 and the second act a 2, and he gives it a 5. I don't know if I respect that or not. So what do you guys think about sort of a Jekyll and Hyde approach to a movie? You love half of it, you hate half of it, and so you give it a 5 out of 10. Have you ever rated a movie that way? I mean, is that viable?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's actually kind of how I feel about this movie.
Okay.
I obviously it's not quite, that split down the middle like that, but I do feel like one part of this movie is way better than another part.
Okay. I can't wait to get into that. 2 more real quick ones. Anonymous. This is like Scream, but not quite like Scream. Do you get what I mean? 8 out of 10.
It's a good bar for if you're rapping. That's something. Know what I mean?
Last one. Another Anonymous. Devon Sawa and Kerr Smith were terrible actors. It may have started the awful bus deaths in TV and movies, or that could have been Meet Joe Black. 2 out of 10. What?
Bro, people have been getting hit by buses since buses.
What's the best bus hit?
Mean Girls.
Ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one. I don't know if I disagree with that. Yeah.
I don't remember Mean Girls enough, but this bus,
Mean
do
Girls is a
remember
great
this
movie,
one.
by the
Mean
way.
Girls is a great movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's the audience, guys. I mean, typically, I kind of read some funny ones, kind of read a couple actually good ones there, but I think the audience, again, didn't love it, but I think the audience was able to see what this movie did right and was able to appreciate what this movie was. Good job, audience.
Way to
That's-
go, audience.
Fucking idiots.
High praise from Brian, but he
No.
also just finished it with a "you idiots."
Can you bleep that?
Hold on. Wait, no.
Just make them all late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, this is Critical Mess, and we're flipping the script. We all like this movie to varying extents. What do we not like about this movie? We've already listed off some of the stuff. I'm just going to start here, and this was something I wanted to bring up, and we kind of alluded to this a second ago, Brian. One thing I really thought was very weak in this movie and brought it down a fair bit for me was the third act. I thought the third act was the worst part of the movie by kind of a lot, and I thought the climax in particular was very disappointing. Not like deal breaker, obviously, because I give it a pretty good score still, but man, that's really when the movie should be at its best, and it was at its worst. And that now that I say that out loud, that makes me kind of ashamed I rated this movie as highly as I did, but I liked it, damn it.
Would you say the third act starts like around the time he goes to that cabin, or maybe before that? Like, is it basically like because the way I look at this movie is the first act is the inciting incident, the plane crash, and the fallout of that. Second act is, they're sort of surprised that these things start happening, and they're sort of figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
So then I guess that would necessitate the third act being they've figured out the mechanism, and now they're
trying to
doing
play
what they
it.
need to
Yeah.
do to survive. So maybe it starts before the cabin. Maybe it's like involving the train. When he realizes he can save, maybe that's what starts it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
It's somewhere around there. Yeah,
Okay.
I think you're onto something.
Okay. I'll say something I didn't like about the movie. There were some big plot holes in this movie.
What?
I and again, I know we just watched Paranormal Activity, and I love that movie. And there's a lot of movies that have sort of plot holes, and I'm not a big plot hole hater. Like a movie can have a plot hole as long as it doesn't talk about it, just leave it unsaid. I'm okay with it, right? But I think this one has a couple, and they don't kill the movie for me. They maybe take off 10 points. The first one is I'm curious, and maybe these aren't plot holes, maybe because I did not watch any like reviews or explainers on this movie. This is just my own thoughts. But why does death not want anyone to know it exists? Why does death have to be tricky? Why does death have to sort of when Todd dies in the bathtub, the water has to disappear, and things have to look like suicides and look like things. I'm curious, like why isn't death just like, yeah, bitch, I killed all these people? Like why is it hiding?
I don't know, because I think it's a given, and it also just gives a little bit of mystery to it and ambiance to the whole idea that they're also. I think it's also part of the plot where those FBI agents are following Devon Sawa's character around and trying to figure out whether he's the reason for all these deaths or if it's something else. I think it's one of those things where death is like also playing a game with Sawa's character and like making him out to be the bad guy and like pushing him to be, the reason for all these things happening. I think it's just a fun game for
That makes
death
sense.
to play.
I
That
think
makes
that's
sense.
I like that point. I think that's a good point.
And
And Brian, sorry, really quickly. I also had that written down, something about I did not like how the water retracted. I thought that was totally unnecessary.
Yeah, it was cool. It looked cool, and it was probably a neat scene to do. I couldn't tell if that was practical or digital. I think I'm not sure, but I don't know if they filmed that scene in reverse. But
I gotta
agree.
say that scene specifically, it's bright blue water coming out of the clean faucet, and then it leaks over the white floor. And the CGI actually looked really good in this film. Like the plane crash, like the first plane, not the plane crash through the window, but that also was pretty strong. But that water scene, I always say the first whole act, the whole plane scene, the entire thing like that, and then the first suicide scene of his best friend in the bathroom.
Todd, yeah.
Like I said, like right before this episode, like that was the most memorable, like jaw-dropping, like impactful scene. Like that was terrifying. You could see the fear in that kid's eyes as he's being strangled to death and he's trying to like get out of the bathtub. And you see the shampoo fall, the conditioner, like he's slipping all over the place. So, and then I don't know if Ben can maybe answer on this or look it up later, but it's the blood rushing to his eyes as he's being hung. I couldn't tell if that was CG or practical.
Oh, that
it had
was
to be
CG. That
CG
was
for
CG.
sure, right?
But I didn't notice any CG in this movie, so bravo, Final Destination.
Yeah, I was really impressed. Like the plane crash felt very real and intense. But bringing it back, like once they get to the airport and they get off the plane and they're all freaking out, I loved how it was just simply an airplane blowing up in the sky. And then there was like a 4 or 5 second delay, and then the windows exploded out. Like you could tell it was the shockwave from the explosion. It's just really well done.
That was by far the most memorable scene of this movie for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're flipping the script.
Yeah.
Though, right?
So I thanks for completely derailing us, Grizz. I'll bring us back. The other plot hole I had was so William. Do you guys remember William, the morgue guy, the morgue keeper guy, the black guy? William says he's sort of explaining everything, right? He's sort of explaining how. I don't even know if you ever hear his name in the movie, but I looked in the cast and his name's William something weird. But he's sort of explaining death. He's sort of talking about death and kind of expositing sort of like death's ways and everything. And he says, walking off of a plane is all part of death's design. Okay, so he kind of tells them that when he's sort of exploring the concept of fate. But then Alex asks him if you can cheat death. And then William says he's already done that by walking off the plane. So he sort of contradicts himself because he's saying that death's design was that they walked off the plane, but then they cheated death by doing that. So I think they didn't fully flesh. I think what the takeaway here is that I wish they would not have tried to explain the mechanism as much as they did in that scene. They really shot themselves in the foot by trying to give it like a specific lore and design, and I think that took a little bit away from it. So those are like the biggest plot holes for me. The sort of the whole way death works and why it is how it is.
Okay, let me ask one quick question. Like, so the mortician,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in that
William.
scene, I almost took it like he might be death.
Yeah, I wrote that.
Yeah, he actually was death, and
I
that
had
was actually a face-to-face interaction with death.
What do we think about that? Because I had that. I said, was William Bloodworth, so he's the guy in the morgue, was he a physical manifestation of death?
Was it directly tied to the movie Candyman from 1992? Was it just a fun little
I don't know.
cameo that I felt like it was a very obvious, like they needed this guy to explain some nice.
Wait,
What's the connection?
No,
Yeah, I
No,
Nick,
they're
I'm-
just pulling a lot of the characters' names are all pulled from horror movies titles, and they're all pulled from horror movie characters. So I don't know if you guys noticed that. It was like a thing that I read in a review that somebody said they're all pulled from different horror movies, and then they pulled an actual actor from one of the most popular '90s horror movies, Candyman. So I just thought it was weird that they just used him as like a wink, wink,
interesting,
like
yeah.
we used this guy.
have you
He's
seen
death.
Candyman?
Years and years ago?
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. All I
so-
know is it's cool that you thought that because I thought that too, and,
Well-
and I'm not sure how I feel about it.
well, do you remember the very last thing he says?
I'll see you soon.
Is that the last thing he says?
Really?
Very last thing he says is, "I'll see you soon."
Okay, well then the thing he says right before that is, "You don't even want to fuck with that Mac
Yep,
Daddy."
with that Mac Daddy, great quote.
Classic
Yeah.
quote.
And then he says, "I'll see you soon."
Yeah, right. So yeah,
And that could be taken both ways. Like,
Well, of course, that's
he's
his
death
job.
and he's
He
hunting
would-
them down,
yeah.
or they're going to die. He knows they're going to die, so he'll see them in the morgue. You know. So I
Yeah.
like that they kept that sort of ambiguous, and I credit the movie for that.
Assuming that was on purpose, that was pretty
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah. So for me, the plot holes were a big one, and then just there wasn't one stellar performance in this movie that I could really hold on to. I think that it was all fine, but nothing really added to the movie for me. And some of the people were like, one of these guys, one of these audience people said everybody's ugly, something like he called everybody
Yeah.
in the movie ugly. I mean, it wasn't the greatest movie to look at, but that's kind of really petty and superficial. So I don't even know why I'm saying that. Grizz, flip the script for us.
Yeah, the entire third act was just a mess. I think it felt like a bunch of rewrites. So I think that's the part, like Nick said, like it's just a bunch of, it just felt very strange. The FBI is chasing him through the woods. The whole electrical thing that was literally grabbing at them and smacking at them, like from the electrical lines. And she's climbing up the house and falling on the car and
I
getting
have
in
thoughts
the car.
on that. I like
going,
that.
going to the garage. Like there's all these things that just continuously, I'm just like, what the fuck are we getting at? I did love the actual end scene where they're back in Paris. I felt like it was a little soon. It was like, 3 months later or something like that, or maybe 6 months later. I wish it was like 1 year later or something like that. But I thought that was great. Left it on a cliffhanger, all that. But the final act and them in the woods and going to the cabin and the
That's good cinematography. That's one of the push-in shots I was talking about. We're watching the scene where Todd takes a shit. Sorry, that's
I know.
that's
Can I
really-
just point out he almost shows the D in that shot?
He does.
It's
And
very dangerously close.
I guess since we brought it up, one of my rapid fires is Is Todd the first character ever to take an on-screen shit twice in the same movie?
There are a lot of toilet shots in this film.
You know, Brian, you know what I like about you? You hit us with the important questions.
I mean, like, if you're handed the script and you're reading not once but twice in this movie, you're dropping trow and taking a shit on screen. Like, that's a little weird. Don't you guys think that's excessive shitting?
Guys,
Sorry, okay, it's
but
a
also
weird place.
high credit for the cinematography in the first part where they're in the airport and the double stall overview.
Both times
It's just
Todd's taking his shit is great
beautiful.
cinematography. It's like the director of photography is like, wow, this is really stupid. How do we make this better? And the first one, he's got the high level pull in, and the second one was the one we were just referring to, which is where you see the water leaking in the toilet, and so it kind of pushes in really close shot of the sort of the water nozzle, and you see the water leaking. So good cinematography there.
I'm just going to throw in one tiny other thing that that flipping the script, and that's that there was a lot of coincidental meetings in this movie. Like, people just showed up at the same place at the same time. It's like, how do we all get there? I don't know.
You
I
didn't grow
guess
up
you
in a
could
small
say
town,
it's
did
like
you?
death is manipulating the situation or whatever. I don't know, but it just seemed like, why is Stifler like always riding his fucking bike around these people? That was creepy.
The worst examples at the coffee shop where
The coffee shop
they're
is
sitting there
bad.
having coffee.
Twice.
Teacher comes out, Stifler comes by, and then
the-
Carter and the girlfriend drive by, and they
Yeah.
all he's like, "Oh, a nice reunion" or whatever.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the only one, but that was the
Yeah.
most egregious.
Another bad one was at
At night.
old Miss Luton's
always
house,
at-
where
yeah.
Stifler's just riding his bike by the house right when it
Yeah.
happens to
Just
be like
happens.
catching on fire. You know, it's just like okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, I guess that brings me to another quick rapid fire, and it was: do you think Stifler ever gets where he's going on his bike?
Obviously not.
He's always riding his bike at all hours of the night and day.
You got to get
Around
to that
town.
next land party.
My only one is that one person dies, and then he's like, "There must be a pattern here," and you're like, "Why? Why did you think it after one person died?"
Because of this scene right here, where he sees the Penthouse magazine that gets shredded, and he sees Todd. Actually, no, you're right,
But,
because
like,
he hasn't died. He hasn't even died
He
yet.
hasn't even died yet.
Huh.
So, like,
yeah, good point.
why?
They all have this weird connection, and I think that's the thing. I grew up in a small town, so you would run into people, but this is just over the top. You're running into people on the same street corner multiple times, and then you're running into them at a specific person's home in the middle of the night. Very strange, but
This death terrified me as a kid, though.
Todd's death. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Todd's death. This has got to be the most impactful thing I've ever seen in a movie. It was like, holy shit! You see the fear in his eyes and like the intensity of it, and it's like, oh, it's so dark.
Yeah.
Final thing on flip the script for me is that I did not detect any. There were strong themes in the movie, but I did not detect really any great character arcs. I think everybody was sort of an archetype, and they just sort of played that till the end. I didn't see anybody really sort of dealing with something and sort of, becoming courageous or sort of forgiving somebody or whatever it is. I mean, I guess you could say Carter, goes to Paris with him and he kind of gets over the stuff, but that's kind of weak sauce, and he dies anyway. So I don't know. Not a whole lot in the realm of character arcs here.
Well, good. That just saved us at least 10 minutes.
Sweet.
So, all right. But I think that means we need to go to themes. And this film, I don't think we need to belabor this much, guys. The themes are I think, kind of obvious. Maybe I'm underthinking it, but my thought on themes is that obviously the theme is kind of fate and death, and how much control over it do you have? Is there free will? That seems to be the theme to me.
Yep, I had the same thing written down: fate versus coincidence, and there was a piece of dialogue. In death, there are no accidents, no coincidences, no mishaps, and no escapes.
Yeah, it was also mentioned during the eulogy, but I also had fate versus free will. Death is a plan, and you don't know when it will come, so you live it to the fullest. So I think Carter may have said, I can't remember, it was during the eulogy of all the students. But.
Well, later in the car, Carter sort of explores a deeper, maybe a tangential sort of theme, and that is, would you want to know when and how you're going to die? Like, he's like, you know what? I know I'm going to be next, so I'm just going to take death into my own hands. And this movie kind of explores that. Like, do you want to be in control of your own death, or do you just want it to happen to you? Do you want to know when and where? And that's a scary thing to think about. And then finally, a secondary theme is I think you see a lot in the first half of the movie, at least, the different ways that people process grief. There's anger. There's some people are sort of taking sides and sort of shedding blame, and they want somebody to blame for these things. And so, yeah. So I think the themes were pretty explicit and strong, and they were definitely there.
So this is Critical Mess. We're talking about Final Destination. We are sponsored by
little ASMR.
Dragon Nut.
Guinness Dragnut and the Best of Year 1792. So we've flipped the script. We've talked some themes. We've given some ratings. We've covered a lot of ground, and that kind of really only means one thing, and that means we're gonna go somewhere. We're gonna go together. We're going to go together.
Rapid fire? Oh, I know where we're going.
There it is.
Hey, everybody.
We got
We
a
are
theme
headed
song.
Welcome to Brian's
over
Corner.
to B Money's Corner. Brian, take it away.
I want you guys to give me a number on the nostalgia meter for each of the following things that were in Final Destination. I want 10 being the most nostalgia, and 1 being the least. And it's funny because, this movie came out in 2000. It came out this millennia. Wait, is 2000 this millennia or last?
This millennia.
I'd say there's a 2, so yeah, it would
Okay.
be with the other ones that have 2 involved.
Sure. I think there was a Seinfeld episode about that. But yeah, so anyway, it's funny because it came out in 2000, 23 years ago. But man, there's some nostalgic stuff in this movie. I was surprised. So 1 to 10, guys. And I don't know if you've ever even seen these in person. I don't know if I have. I think I have. But plane departure analog ticker boards.
Those were so cool. There's just some genuine class with those things,
Yeah.
and I don't know. There'd always be a couple of them that were like kind of fucked up.
Uh-huh.
Would never be perfect. That's a good call. I very nostalgic. 8.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Dead even 5. I don't think I've ever seen those other than a movie.
How about this? The news just being on in the family room. When you were a kid, the TV just was on. The news was just on.
Every morning, every afternoon.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't give mine. I'll say for this one, oh man, like 7.
I guess we didn't really keep the news on all that much. I guess. I mean, it's not like we didn't watch the news. We didn't hide from the news.
You weren't like a TV on kind of just like news family?
No.
Okay.
Not really. You
None
see,
of
Brian, I didn't have cable growing up.
Well,
and
I didn't either.
We
but
didn't emphasize TV very much, and it for better and for worse.
I guess just from 6 o'clock on, Dad would turn on NBC Nightly News. That's what would happen in my house. I don't know.
Yeah, ours was just local news, so 9 out of 10.
Okay,
Every morning,
all right.
every night.
How about 27-inch TVs in the family room?
I mean, isn't that the magic number? It always was. Just a 27-inch.
Yeah.
Just a 27-inch Trinitron,
Like
man.
way fucking far away, like 30 feet across your
Oh,
huge
it was plenty.
living
It was
room.
more than enough.
You had a 27-inch analog TV, and we knew exactly what was going on in the world.
Yeah, I could still dominate on Mario Kart on one of those things from 25 feet back.
Mm-hmm.
People who get these movie theater screens, which you both have, and I am just envious. Let's be serious. But it's a lot. It's a lot. You don't need it.
I'm gonna
but it's
go.
nice.
I'm gonna go 7 again on this one for nostalgia for me.
Yeah, 8 out of 10.
8.
As a kid that had a wooden box TV for way too long of his childhood.
Yeah, 7's good.
Beige desktop tower computers. This is a 10 for
man.
me.
Oh yeah,
This
like
is a 10 all
That's
the way.
another that's like a 9 for me. Yeah.
That's a 10, a fucking 10.
Oh, thank you. 3 more. We're getting into fashion here. Our protagonist's hairstyle. So the men's having the bangs flipped straight up just in the front.
Yeah, there's
Hairstyle.
there's a name for that.
I googled it. I couldn't find it. What is it?
It's called the junior flip.
Junior
Oh,
flip.
what?
You
Ours
guys
is-
didn't know that?
No, that is not what it was called.
Give me your nostalgia for the junior flip. Mine's a 0. Mine's a 1.
It was huge where I'm growing up.
I hated it.
So it was called a cowlick. You never heard that?
I
Yeah.
think the cowlick isn't that
in
what
the
like,
back, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
in the
No,
Back
cowlick.
here,
It was always in the front for me.
Well, I think it can be anywhere, but it's
I don't
where
know
your
why.
hair kind of does it crazy. I'm talking about where a dude
Yeah,
combs his hair
flat out.
straight forward, except the very front. He goes,
Yeah,
boom.
It was always
straight
full of
up.
cow-
Yeah,
Outlet
there's still
growing
like
up.
some European soccer players that get away with it for sure.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, no, the junior flip, I was into it for about 6 months. I'll give it a 6.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, 8 out of 10 for me.
Wow. Well, I mean, so I guess I just hated it. How about girls showing their midriffs? And I understand that this one's coming back. This one's back now. But like, give me your nostalgia for like the Gwen Stefani, the midriff always being the Mariah Carey, midriff.
Britney Spears.
Britney Spears, yeah.
Even the unpopular girl in this movie, the weird unpopular girl, had it.
PMTS?
Nothing.
You talking about PMTS?
Yeah.
Right there?
Yep.
Well, yeah, she's the one who I'm referring to.
Yeah. 5 out of 10. Nothing out of the.
What if it was a big busty Latina?
Yeah, where's Anonymous? Where's he at? I'm gonna go. I mean, I'm not a good midriff's a good thing. I'm gonna go with a 6.9 out of 10 on that.
Yeah, I miss it too. I mean, come on.
Sorry.
Who doesn't miss it?
Where's the sound effect?
All right, last one. Last one. Physical porn magazines. This movie had a penthouse that gets chopped up by the fan.
Now, side note, would you not freak the fuck out if you had a hidden penthouse porn mag and you threw it at an owl at the window and it exploded into a bunch of pieces all over your room?
I'd be like, shit, my parents are gonna come in.
I'd be like, quickly, clean that shit up.
So many titties.
Wow.
So guys,
8 out of 10.
I paused it on that frame and I read the mag.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the articles?
Yeah, no,
You read it.
I did. And there was a column about a guy, he liked wrestling with women, but he liked being, dominated as a wrestling partner. So he liked to be like choked out and like put in headlocks and like slammed to the ground by women wrestlers.
My kids definitely aren't listening to this episode.
So
Good job. Good detective work there, Nick.
Yeah.
yeah,
great
thanks.
work.
Because I wanted to see was that actually like a real page from a penthouse, and I think it was.
Yeah, it probably was. Yeah, that's
So-
it, guys. That's Brian's corner. Thanks for joining me and giving your nostalgia ratings for those fun things.
It's just magical, isn't
I
it?
love it. It's so quaint.
Hmm. All right, this is Critical Mess, and we are talking about something. What are we talking about?
Final Destination.
Right? Final Destination, 2000 Final Destination, not the Final Destination, as Brian pointed out at the start of the episode from 2009, but simply Final Destination.
Which, by the way, real quick, the title of this movie, great job taking a pedestrian sort of phrase that everyone knows and loves, but is unique enough to sort of turn it into your franchise. And it kind of has it like retroactively an eerie feel to it. Whoever first sort of coined that term, Final Destination, which, if you got layovers and things, what's your final destination on an airplane ticket? But somebody, it's kind of a creepy phrase. And I love that they, I don't know, great title, great
I agree.
capitalization.
Smart title. Agree.
Yeah, brilliant.
Okay, now I think it's time to go to our. Is it fair to say, guys, this is our best segment?
Oh, 100%.
It's the one that the our devoted
Most
fan
memorable.
base. Yeah, this is the one they tune in for, that they wait for. They slog through all this other shit just to get to the epic, the timeless, the legendary, the unrivaled, the inimitable, inimitable.
Watching you struggle.
Man, I was so tracking with you. I was like, yeah. And then you lost me.
I know. Thanks to our sponsors for fucking that up for me.
No, thanks to you and Grizz for both having a 69 and causing you to. That sounded bad.
I think.
69 score and causing you to finish your beer.
Yeah.
go.
Ben,
Thank you
can
for
you bleep that,
clarifying.
please?
Thank you.
My grandma listens to this.
Bring us back on track, Nick.
Inimitable
There
was
we
the
go.
word I was looking for. That's a tough one, guys.
I'm not trying to-
Inimitable.
It's not that hard for a copywriter. Come on now.
Inimitable.
Anemone?
It does. It means like a sea anemone. Yeah.
Oh, really?
No.
I don't know what the hell's happening right now.
I'm not even going to say what it means. It doesn't fucking matter what it means. What matters is that we're here, and we're going to do Slow Burn,
Slow burn. Do we
a.k.a.
have a sound for that?
Crossfire.
Hold on, let's get a clean take of that.
Slow burn.
Okay.
It wasn't as good as the first one.
AKA Crossfire, AKA Rapid Fire, AKA Fast Burn, AKA fuck you.
Let's do it, man. I can't wait. There's some good little nuggets to get into here, folks.
All right, we've got nuggets. I'll start with one. I think this is something we just got to get out in the open right now, right away, urgent. Stifler getting just clowned on this whole movie bothered me deeply. Not just as someone who's anti-bullying, but as someone who has a deep running respect for Stifler, the man. And it just didn't sit well with me. None of this sat well with me.
It was not on brand for him.
Very off brand.
But I got to say, I liked it. I thought it was funny. I really remember him from this movie and sort of being like subverting my expectations. You know, I thought he was going to be like the main kind of Carter. But
he would have been a good Carter.
Yeah, I thought he'd be Carter,
Yeah.
but they cast him as sort of the silly guy, and you know, I actually track with it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay, well, I had a hard time with it.
Okay.
The French teacher.
The guy.
Which
one?
What a just a goober. The way he just only spoke French too.
Yeah.
That was so realistic.
He was so
like
excited.
that's exactly that guy should have got a Best Supporting Actor nomination for that. He really nailed that shit.
He was he did a good job.
Yeah, he could really eat shit.
That was a good death.
Yeah, we just saw old girl get creamed by the bus. That was the reaction there.
For our listeners, we usually have the movie playing in the background just for
Yeah.
additional context.
Yeah, not as good as Mean Girls though. This is just a small thing. You all, I'm not sure if you caught, but I think I need to call out. Okay, why the fuck does the desk person at the airport, that's like, you know, checking the bags, have a French accent in America? What was that about? That was odd.
Foreshadowing.
French airline. It's
Was it a French airline?
Probably a French
I didn't think it
airline.
was though.
Probably not, but come on, they're going to France. We got to
Even
find a
so.
person with a thick French accent.
Is
Is
American
it Air
Airlines
France?
Probably.
Is American Airlines manned by Americans in France? I don't think so. That's the smallest of small things. But I was just like, that
Little
just
weird.
seemed like it seemed sloppy. It seemed
A little
sloppy.
weird.
Guys, I'm not gonna lie. I have a lot of notes about Stifler just getting
Okay.
punished over and over again.
Okay.
Getting his bags
fire.
thrown at him, getting knocked off his bike,
Let's explore
getting
that.
pushed around and clowned on. I don't know.
But he always kind of stands up for himself. He's always like, "Carter, you dick." You know, he never gets like hit in the face. He gets bullied, but like he's sort of like, he's kind of like
That emotional damage is far greater than physical. Come on, Brian.
I know, but
No,
I'm saying at
guys.
least he like sort of stands up for himself a little bit.
But everyone knows he's not going to throw hands, though.
Yeah.
Everyone
True.
knows.
I mean, look at the hat he wears.
I know. He's an
No-
easy
no
target.
one- yeah.
Okay, Brian, you brought up earlier the we'll just call it the double deuce,
Double deuce by Todd.
a feat that might be unreplicated. We're gonna get our research team on that.
The only other time I've ever seen a cinematography like that is from the N64 game GoldenEye, when you're running the ducks.
Yeah, it does that in the
Oh, yeah.
movie. They
And you see
I actually
that
thought
overdo
about that when I was watching
Well,
it. Yeah.
Okay,
The
but this
only other
isn't
time.
this isn't the that's not the point though. But it is related. So I think it's interesting. Remember, he's like, "Dude, let's go take a shit."
Yeah.
He's like, "There's an 8-hour flight." So does this guy just assumes that people can just shit on demand? Is
Yeah.
anyone like that? Are any of you guys like that?
No.
She's like, I'm going to just go dump now.
No, when it happens, I chose not to dwell on that. You know,
I'm going to dwell on it.
He went hard into making sure he impressed those girls that had no interest in him.
Can we talk about something real quick? A general movie trope that I hate. I hate when a character is shown on screen like peeing or doing those type of things. Like a woman walks into a restroom and takes the and I'm like, please don't let us hear the trickle, and then you hear it. And I'm like, why do they feel like they have to put that? Like, we know what they're going to go do. Don't show us. Like, I don't know. I have a personal I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about people use bodily functions. Like, just stop it, Todd. Stop shitting.
And you know what I hate? And it's very similar to yours. I hate when
people
dumps happen together.
Oh yeah, nobody.
Just two people dumping side by side.
No, if you're dumping with other people, you got problems.
I mean, big respect to Ben. You're a good friend.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we would shit next to each other in a stall
No.
at an airport, but
You got to
I
go
wouldn't-
find the most private retreat you possibly can and hide away from
I'd
the
go
world.
to the wing of the airport that had no airplane near it to go take a shit.
Oh yeah, just to quiet it, like no one's
Yeah.
around.
And just I don't want to dwell on this
Well, we already have.
dumpage too much, but torquing a wicked cable. Has anyone ever heard or said that before?
Who said that?
I think it was Todd.
Wait. Twerking a wicked cable?
He's going to torque.
Torque.
No, he's going to twerk it.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Ryan.
But neither of them.
How does that happen?
I don't know what either
Just
of those
twerk it
are.
on out. So like you torque. So do you not understand what we're getting at here?
I understand what torque is.
Now,
How
do
do
you
you
understand
torque a
what
shit?
the symbology of the wicked cable?
Wicked cable. Yeah.
You ever have a wicked cable?
Man, that's just way
You
too.
put a little too much
That's
sriracha on your.
No, spice
A
doesn't
wicked
affect me.
cable.
Maybe I don't know what you guys are talking about, but that literally spice is not. But I feel like that phrase alone is why this movie's rated R, because that was way too graphic for my brain. I need a little 1792. I'll be right back. I don't mean to stop recording.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Anyway, I'm sorry. Cargo pants.
Hell yeah.
Damn it! That should have been in Brian's corner. That should have been a nostalgia one. Good catch.
You can keep so many things in them.
I had cargo pants in that era.
I literally,
and
I literally never have ever put something in a cargo pant pocket.
What?
I've worn cargo
What?
pants and cargo pant shorts, but I've never actually utilized the pocket.
Oh no, that was just you thought it was cool.
Purely a fashion choice for you.
Okay, well, let me ask you this then. Did you ever wear carpenter jeans and put a fucking hammer in the little loop? No,
Yes.
you wore the carpenter jeans because they were fashion.
You just assume the answer to that was no? I didn't
Yeah.
have my little hammer when
You
I went into-
you never put a hammer in your carpenter jeans. Don't lie to me.
Dude, when I was in like 3rd grade, my top hobby was hammering nails.
Carpenter pants didn't exist in 3rd grade. They came out like
Top.
in '95.
Hobby.
Whatever. I was young. Things were crazy.
Maybe I'm the weirdo for wearing carpenter jeans as a 16-year-old who worked
Yes.
at the Gap.
You didn't just carry around measuring tape?
I mean, I didn't put it in my cargo pocket.
That's what they
Well,
were
you're
for. I had
missing
packs
out.
of gum in there.
They were
pens
for
and
fashion.
pencils.
Well, what'd you put in your regular pockets? How much shit did you take with you on the go to where you
all
needed
kind-
5
hacky-
pockets?
A hacky
So-
sack, everything.
So, okay, we may as well because we're already here. Where did you get your cargo pants? I mean, who made the good cargo pants?
Well,
Old
American
Navy.
Eagle's where I got mine.
Old Navy.
Fancy
Old Navy.
pants. Yeah, Old Navy or Kohl's.
I would go into Abercrombie and couldn't afford their stuff.
I was
and
about to
go
say, you
over
guys are all low rent.
I go to Aeropostale or
Whatever. American Eagle?
Dude,
No.
American
Pretty
Eagle,
high
Abercrombie was much more prestigious.
American Eagle
Yeah,
is like
Abercrombie was
it
like
goes
the
Old
premium.
Navy's the bottom, and then Aeropostale, and then American Eagle, and then Abercrombie's way up here.
And I think not uncoincidentally, Abercrombie had the fattest pockets
Mm.
on the pants. It was like, you're going to pay big money, you're going to get fat pockets. I mean,
Once
I could hold.
a year, my mom would buy one thing from Abercrombie. It was so expensive. But we were always at Kohl's or an Old Navy for sure.
Do you remember? I mean,
Yeah.
what a strange. I'm sorry, we're going on a tangent now, but
It's interesting.
Shout out
Yeah,
Kohl's
Keep
Cash.
it going.
they're just what a strange brand. Abercrombie. They did all this racist shit. Do you remember that? Like they had all these
Mhm.
T-shirts with like very racist Asian caricatures and like and
Yeah.
Indian stuff and like
They're coming back
and
recently.
it was not.
Yeah.
It was not like. I mean, it was just in bad taste. And it's funny that it wasn't really talked about back then much. But then they also were like all these naked kids on the bags. Do you remember that? Like it was like a bunch of like. I mean, I hope they were 18, but it was just like basically nude. Very young people, just all over every bag. So whenever you bought something from Abercrombie and you're walking through the mall, like you bought just a nice T-shirt that just says Abercrombie, you're carrying a bag that has this dude's dong almost basically hanging out, and this chick just like standing next to him on a beach.
As Brian explained in a previous episode about Dick Root.
What?
Was
Yeah,
it?
you
Oh
said
no,
it was-
no, I didn't know what it was, and then
was
I
it- oh, that's right. Brian didn't know what it was. Maybe Nick mentioned it.
I know what it is now.
Bagged with Dick Root.
That was like #1 marketing for Abercrombie back in
Yeah,
the
it
day.
was like good call. It was the
Yeah.
Dick Root brand. Anyways, we digress.
Let's
Slow
let's
burn.
get. Can I throw one or two out there real quick?
Oh, please, Brian, jump in.
I want to see Agent Shrek in more roles. He's on screen here. He's the agent in the back, sort of creepy. I liked him a lot in this movie. I
feel
thought
like-
he was real creepy and great.
Is he not like? Did he not like make a 5-year career out of like NYPD Blue or something?
Probably.
Like that?
I don't
he
know.
had to have.
I like that his name was Agent Shrek though. Another one. Do you guys remember in the airport when they're walking with the French teacher guy and they're walking to the plane? Do you remember when they came across that like cult fanatic guy who's talking about like death's not the end? How many cult fanatics have you ever met at the airport? Is that a place where they hang out?
I feel like in the before 9/11, yes,
Oh,
right? Because any just jackass could just wander to the airport and dance around.
it
And
seems like the airport's kind of hard to get to. Just go to the park and be a cult fanatic.
I mean, you're right. It's not like the normal place.
It wasn't
but-
until I think I flew on an airplane for the first time when I was 16, maybe 17. So I do vaguely remember shit like that at the airport. But I'm going to throw one in there as well. Alka-Seltzer.
oh,
both
they
Alex
both.
and Claire at the exact same, and within the few scenes of each other, both took Alka-Seltzer.
I
and
like
water.
that. I think it was a cut from one to the other, and they were doing. There's like the exact same time.
Yeah, I mean, I like Tums, but who's dropping
that
Alka-Seltzer?
was
at?
especially not young
It
people.
was big in
Yeah.
the '90s.
There was some kind of shameless product placement in this movie. Did you guys catch on to any of that? Nike was one for sure.
Okay.
Nike.
Yeah, there was Carter had himself a nice little Nike jacket. Someone had there was a nice close up of some Nike kicks.
Wow.
Yeah, with a nice, very visible logo. Yeah, there was some product placement here.
Speaking of the scene we're seeing right now, Mrs. Luton, I had a note here. Mrs. Luton drinks straight up vodka like a boss. She fills that mug and takes some knocks out of it. Doesn't even squint. She's a baller.
I'm not gonna lie. Miss Luton is kind of my dream woman. I feel like if she existed in real life,
She's hot.
I know she's single. She's a teacher.
Man.
She means well. She's obviously taking care of herself.
She can take a hit. I mean, she takes the shard to the neck. She's
tough.
She's tough. She's got the knife. The knife goes into her chest, and she's still kicking it till the chair comes down on it.
Shout out to single female teachers owning such a beautiful large home in Midwest.
Yeah, she's got this
Oh, and
awesome
she's
house.
Oh, yeah, and
Yeah.
she's got money. Yeah, it's
As
Yeah.
we watch her
God,
stumble
this
around
death is so
bloody through a home and
She-
a fire starts and all
She's
these
cool.
things.
Miss Luton.
She's a hip lady.
I know we hardly knew you.
Yeah, I had a couple other ones here. I've never seen an oscillating fan get so much screen time in a movie. Did you guys notice that oscillating fan?
Did it have something to do with
so
it? Remember,
much
like the
time.
fan death thing? Remember that was a thing back then?
Oh, were people dying?
No,
by
it was
fan?
like I think it was kind of like I think it would feel like it was big in Asia. Like people
Oh.
had this belief that like if you slept in a room with a fan, you would die.
Oh God, I sleep with a fan.
Everyone
single
does.
night.
That's why everyone's scared by it.
Oh
And
man,
it's a. But
No,
I have no
that's
idea
weird.
if that had
Don't do
anything to
that.
do with anything. But I do remember that being like actually kind of like a thing.
I
Fan-
think
fan
it
death.
ties directly into the hidden death with a blow of wind is death coming into the room.
ooh, okay.
Yeah, I can
Minus
see
the
that.
part where she shuts the window and the wind comes out of literally nowhere.
Yeah, that those are my rapid fires. Nick, back to you. What do you got? More Stifler?
Yeah, it was bothering me, guys. I just let's talk about it more.
Fair enough. Here he is.
There he is, and he's just everywhere. He
Just
just
casually biking
and
through.
why do he always he just looks like such a dope? Like he just looks like he's got this like expression on his face that he just what's going on?
I think it's
man?"
precious. It's endearing.
I know he looks like a toddler in
he's a nice little
17-year-old's
guy.
body. He's just a Stifler.
Can I ask, do you guys ever wear a long sleeve shirt underneath a short sleeve shirt?
Yeah, I actually I did like last year.
Really?
Yeah, I was
Really?
doing yard work.
Oh, well, that's a
well,
little
that's
different. It had a practical use.
I didn't wear it out to the
To
Vogue
work.
and go
To
dancing.
work.
Yeah,
No, not to work. No.
yeah. I haven't done that
in
since middle
the
school.
late 90s, early 2000s, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to look like Devin Sawa.
Damn,
or
that's two things Brian's corner missed.
Yeah,
You guys are setting me straight.
we
gotta
got you.
put your long sleeve champion T-shirt underneath your body glove T-shirt.
Ocean Pacific.
Look, now he's just biking
Uh,
around.
Okay. Oh, I'm so glad this scene just popped up because this hits perfectly with my next critical mess. Rapid fire, slow burn, crossfire, whatever the fuck it's called, the topic. the Eagle Memorial statue. I'm sorry, guys. It seems like in poor taste, those poor people were flying through the air and got exploded.
That's bad.
And they put an eagle as the memorial.
I thought the same
They may as well just put a fucking plane on there.
Yeah.
I don't know. That seemed odd.
Also,
a
his
little bit weird.
his big plan is to carve a name with like a toothpick.
Yeah.
I know. That,
Into the,
Yeah, he's got like a tiny little wood chip, but
I know, it was a
he
little
makes
weak-ass
no
knife.
progress
no
whatsoever.
progress. He's like, oh, that's too hard. Too hard.
Yeah, I thought this was going to work, but this is fucking marble plaque. I can't get any purchase.
all
I
right,
thought
this
it was
is a.
yeah.
Sorry, Grace. Go ahead.
No, you're good.
This is going to be a true rapid fire question. Yes. How scary was this movie on a scale of 0 to 11?
Which is which?
0 is least
Ben,
scary.
What in what universe would someone have 0 be the most scary and 11 being the least?
I like how
scary?
Ben's brain works, though. I feel like it's very analytical. You never can be too sure.
Yeah,
never
you
can be
don't-
too
you
sure.
don't
Maybe
know.
he was
You
thrown
don't
off by the
jump.
11. Maybe.
Yeah.
I'll give him that credit.
No stupid questions, Brian.
You don't want to jump to conclusions.
Good job being thorough. For me, I'm gonna go probably just again. It comes down to that first act was so ominous and so
No, Brian,
like,
it's a number. It's a number.
chilling.
We're
I know.
rapid firing.
but
0 to 11.
it's five. It's 5.
Yeah, I go 6, just a hair over Brian. Just for that first act was so
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
It was so strong.
Ben?
I'm gonna say 7. Just because when I first watched, not now. Like now, now it's like 2.
Okay, so you're and that's another thing to think about. How scary was it the first time you saw it versus now too? You know, I don't know.
I think it was a 3 when I saw it the first time and a 2 now. I don't think it's very scary, and I'm not trying to be a tough guy right now. I just think Paranormal Activity was way fucking scarier.
True,
Yeah.
but like when you go into the shower and you're like, oh, I might slip and kill myself.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can
okay.
also stand. Is something
True,
I
but-
can do that this poor teen apparently was unable to
There
accomplish.
was soap.
Have you ever
There was
tried to
soap.
walk on conditioner in a shower?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to stand? It's not that hard. Maybe you put
Fair.
one foot a little further behind the other one, right? Maybe you do make a little gap between your feet.
I
There
do
are
think
ways.
I do think that speaks to a larger, which we don't need to get into now, but a larger question of the sort of horror genre. And does a movie being in the horror genre necessitate you being scared of it, or is there a different I don't know, like can something be horror and I go, oh, I'm not scared of that, but it's also a great horror movie. So
It's a good question. I think the answer is no and yes,
okay,
if that makes sense.
yeah, sure, respectively.
Respectively.
Okay, 0 to 11.
Carter has a sick Camaro.
Oh, that SS.
Mhm.
Whew.
What's the story there? Was
Got that 9 Inch Nails blaring.
That's daddy's money for sure.
Mm-hmm.
were those? I don't even remember. In 2000, I feel like maybe you could get one of those for not like stupidly expensive. I mean, muscle cars have gone crazy, but
But it's still in 2000. That thing was still 30 years old. You know the way he kind of whips it around and causes like a bunch of car accidents. And shit.
I know. Can we talk on a scale? How about on a scale of 0 to 11? How cool was Carter? I'll start 11.
Well, he was listening to Trent Reznor, so that gives him like at least 5. The SS brings him up to an 8.
He's got a girlfriend.
He had. Do you remember his garb? Do you remember he had like the track pants and like the
He looked cool as fuck.
yeah. He
Got a
was-
great jawline.
Great job. Yeah.
I'll go. I'm gonna sit at 11 with you. I want to be Carter.
I mean, look at that car.
Yeah,
I don't
wanna be
care.
him.
I don't give the fuck what he looks like. I don't care if he
Yeah.
looks like a mushroom, as long as he has that car.
I'm
at
sorry,
11.
guys. I grew up with these guys, so I would say that's daddy's money. He's got his Letterman jacket. He was the epitome of just rich kid in my town, especially a small town, which this movie seemed to have taken place because they kept running into each other. But I go 5 out of 10.
I don't believe you because you didn't shop at Abercrombie. You gave yourself away. You're a fake,
No.
You're a
I
fake
grew
rich
up
kid.
with these kids, so I had hatred for these types of kids.
Oh, I
Yes.
misunderstood.
Yeah. No.
I
was
thought you were
not
saying
one
you
of those
were these kids, and
No,
so you
God,
realized
no.
they weren't cool.
I see.
No.
Okay. I see what
Absolutely
you're-
did not
My
relate
mistake.
to these children. Yeah.
I apologize.
That makes sense. Okay. So PMTS's name is Clear.
Yeah, clear. So
CLEAR.
I watched it with subtitles, and I never had watched it with subtitles before. I always thought it was Claire, but it's Clear.
I even
Clear
said
Rivers,
Claire
right?
earlier. Oops.
It's clear.
Is it Clear River?
Clear Rivers.
Mhm.
Yeah, Clear Rivers. Interesting.
What the? Okay,
I mean, just leave it.
I'll just. I guess
We all know
hard,
that
it's
now.
hard to do, but all right. Speaking of clear, Liquid is very involved in getting people killed in this movie.
I had a note on that.
Why? It's kind of like Water is the bad guy. I think it's a little overused, to be honest with you. I
Didn't
wish they
we
would
say
have
that
found
with Deep Blue Sea? We said kind of said like, is Water the bad guy? That's an interesting parallel.
Yeah, water again.
Huh.
Water's very dangerous, and yet it's what, like 99.9% of our bodies. Isn't that the statistic?
Well, we can't live without it. So it's like, no, it's not 99.9%.
I think it's
That's
99.99999. You're right.
I think it's more like 70 to 80. But
No, I think you need to look at the science.
now we'll check
Good
that. We'll
fact check
check that.
it. Yeah, fact check.
You wanna put money
fact
down?
Check us.
But anyway, yeah, it's interesting because it's like we have
Brian,
to
I
have.
was joking, by the way.
Oh,
I know our bodies aren't 99.9.
boy, I'm a gullible
I was
one.
going
tonight.
along with
If that
you,
were
but it
true,
was
I would
great.
look like Osmosis Jones.
I was a really
Okay.
gullible one.
So, yeah. Anyways, sorry.
Can I ask you guys a question real quick?
Yes.
You can say no. Like, tell me, like, no, actually, Brian, I have something I want to say.
There's nothing I want more.
Okay. What's the best movie plane crash?
Con Air.
Grizz, do you have a thought? Oh, okay. Hey, hang on. I know you hate to be asked cold. Sorry. I'll say mine. Maybe it'll jog your memory. I'll say a couple. Fight Club had a pretty good one. Air Force One had a notably bad CGI one, but interesting dynamics along with it. I will say my favorite one, it's kind of a sleeper, Castaway. If you remember the plane crash in Castaway. Really, really well done. Sort of no music playing. Super just ominous and just stays with you. So that's my answer.
A great answer, but I actually have one in mind.
Yes. What is it?
The movie True Lies, when he
Oh,
jumps
yeah.
in a fucking jet.
The Harrier?
Yeah. And he's just flying around.
Yeah, there's some
bombing.
rowdy plane action.
Oh, it's so good.
Specifically the one the Harrier that kind of take off vertically?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so when
and then
that
he
plane
gets
crashes.
on top and he jumps out of it and uses it as a project. It's great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a lot more plane crashes out there,
This was pretty great. I mean, I already mentioned it, but I mean, the whole fucking first act of this movie was so great. And that plane scene was just beautiful. Like it was really well.
The plane scene was really good.
This would be in my
Yeah.
top. This would be in my top, probably top 3.
Probably.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. But it was also like they didn't just replay the explosion of the plane again. They showed it from afar as a small explosion, and then the impact, the size of it was the blown through windows of the airport.
I love the double telling of that same story. You get first person view and then you get far away view, and it's a really great storytelling.
Brian, did you say Fight Club?
Yeah.
He
Okay,
did.
sorry. I thought you did, but I just went. Yeah, that is another great one. Did you guys notice that Miss Luton? Can't talk about Miss Luton too much. She's a delight.
She's great.
Poor actress, but lovely woman. Where are you, Miss Luton? Give me a call. She literally has a giant knife on the stained glass front door of her home. Did anyone notice that?
No.
Yeah.
A huge dagger.
It's a sword.
Looks like a sword. Yeah.
Wait, are you saying it's part of the stained glass window
Yes,
design?
and it's
Yeah.
very obvious.
Oh,
It's in right behind her.
really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Astute.
Yeah, and they show it right after she gets stabbed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little on the nose, I guess, but it's fine. Who has a fucking sword on their door? I don't know.
There's
Luton.
actually a
Miss Luton, because she's cool. She's
Yeah,
edgy.
she doesn't give a shit.
If you go back and rewatch this movie, and I had to watch like a breakdown video and a couple articles about this, but there is a massive amount of just hidden little details like that you will completely miss because they're just background noise. But one of them was that knife and the sword on the window, but the other was the number 180. So 180 being
Mm-hmm.
half
Flight
of
number.
360. So
right.
Mm.
evil, good.
Right, yeah.
180 kept showing up everywhere, like the 1 o'clock at the very start of the movie, like the 1 a.m. call that kind of faded to 180. Like the 8 or the 0 turned into an 8, and then it went to the actual airport. There were a lot of good little cut scenes like that just kind of faded to the next. So
Yep.
This is Critical Mess. We are talking about Final Destination. We are sponsored tonight by Guinness Dragnut and the Best of Years 1792. And we're in the midst of our legendary, inimitable segment.
dubious.
Slow burn.
Yeah, it's
Indubitably the best segment
There,
of the
that's the
show.
word I was
dramatic
looking for.
pause.
Indubitably. Okay, back to the slow burn. It was right for Carter to try to sacrifice his life for that Camaro, yes?
I actually don't think he did. I think he was trying to get out, and his seatbelt wouldn't come undone, and the door wouldn't unlock.
But initially,
But
he was
initially
ready.
he was trying to
He was
hit that
trying to start
He
it.
was
Well,
trying to
yeah,
start
of course,
that car.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
He
Yeah.
chickened out, but he was ready to go down.
You don't want to lose that SS.
No,
Yeah.
you
he
were-
realized that 30-year-old car was a piece of shit, and he's like, I got to get the fuck out of here quick.
Can we also talk about how slow that train was?
Yeah, it's pretty slow.
Movie magic.
It reminded me of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It just got slowly closer.
It
and
was pretty
closer.
bad.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
It's going about 15 miles an hour, maybe.
A quick slow burn chat about the climax. So just with the live wire, guys, let's talk about the live wire again for a second, because I thought it was kind of an appalling finish. And the way he just kind of grabs the wire off of the car, and that's kind of literally the most climactic part of the movie, where he kind of gets exploded back by a power line. That was just weak sauce. And it's like I said earlier, I think I can't believe I rated the movie this highly with such a bad climax, but it's mostly because I just really enjoyed myself. But damn, was that a disappointing kind of final showdown. Thoughts?
I'm going to defend that, actually.
Okay, please.
Whoa.
I think that this movie did something that I really appreciated, and I spoke to this with Paranormal Activity, and that is that they sort of the villain was never shown, right? It was always present but never shown, and the villain here's death, right? So death is coming at them, and I think they did a really good job making death into a character. So you sort of see these things happen. The door closes in Todd's bathroom. You know, I guess the only visual cue is every time somebody's about to die, you see death. It's like this black sort of mist that kind of covers behind them. There's a really great scene at the end where the black goes over the pool water that's spilled.
Mm-hmm.
It's a kind of a cool CGI scene there. But anyway, death is a character, and death is somehow inexplicably able to interact with the real world. It's able to sort of, I don't know, they don't explain it and they don't need to, but it's able to control physical objects. And so I think it comes to a head during the electrical cable scene, and that almost becomes an extension of death itself. That cable, you can see it's actually like it's breaking through the garage, like an actual like sort of extremity of some sort of beast, like the Watcher outside of Moria in Lord of the Rings. And it kind of at one point in time like kind of hits a propane tank, and it shoots under the car, and it's sort of, and you start hearing, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the sound design is, you start hearing animalistic sounds from that wire that are, it's like the death's sounds. Now, whether or not they went too far with it, that's subjective, but I actually really like how they personify death without ever showing it. And with the exception of William Bloodsworth, you could say he was death in the morgue, but I have no problem with that because I think they've built to that and they've earned that scene.
Yeah, I agree with Nick. I had trouble with this last scene just for the fact that it started to create itself a monster out of an electrical cord, and then it was grabbing and punching and hitting specific things all over the place. So I mean, I personally had a hard time with it just because it did such a good job of becoming this mysterious, shadowy figure the whole way through. They could have kept that in just a more suspenseful way somehow, and I felt like it was a little too hokey for me, but that's just my personal opinion.
So why did they just think that, after this whole incident that we just talked about here, that they were just fine to just fly to France after that and everything was going to be fine? I guess the death passed them over kind of thing, I guess, is the argument there, but I still am like, obviously death's still going to get you, guy. And they acted like they won.
There's like no PTSD at all. They
Right.
just fly to France.
And
But it
right,
was
they just
months
go to
later.
France. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a few months later or something like that,
And
3 or 6 months.
3 months later.
Yeah, it was
3
only like
months
3
later.
months later.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it felt like they had were acting like they had kind of scored this decisive victory over death, and I guess I just didn't. I mean, sure, they got out of this kind of final sequence here with the live wire, but I guess that's just another. I mean, it's going to cook you here one way or the other. So I don't know. I just thought that was a little stupid.
Agree strongly.
What do we think about the final line of this film? You guys remember what it was?
Hang on. No.
It was
Carter, right?
Carter?
Mr. SS himself.
He says something when that sign's swinging back.
He says, "So what's next?"
Mm.
Boom.
That's an interesting last line of a movie. So what's next?
You think they screened this and they were like, "Oh, it's going pretty well. We should throw in an extra couple of lines in
absolutely.
there for the countless sequels."
Oh yeah, they screened this. Yeah, I think they knew they had a hit.
You think they reshot that entire last scene?
It almost seems like they did because everyone looked different. It
Yeah.
wasn't just PMTS's hair.
First, I was thinking, "Oh, great work on changing her hair color," because that is something may have naturally happened after a year or so of
But
somebody.
even Alex and Carter both look different. Like
Yeah.
there's something different about that last scene. Everyone looked, a year older or something. I wouldn't put it past them to have reshot that.
Well,
Or
and,
added new scenes, I guess.
and Brian, you stole my thunder earlier when, I probably the most important segment of Slow Burn was going to be about PMTS's bangs.
Let's talk about it.
So, they're gone in France,
She's so much hotter
and
because of it.
she does look better. She does look better, which begs the question: should Taylor Swift lose the bangs? The internet would explode.
hot take.
Well, she will at some point because she's got to keep iterating.
Mm-hmm.
First she was country, now she's pop, now she's Mrs. Kelsey, and next she's going to be bangless something or other. I don't fucking
Love how
care.
topical this has become,
I really
especially
don't
from
care.
Brian.
I feel like she's pretty soon going to hit the Britney Spears stage, right, where she just shaves it all off.
I do like Taylor Swift now. I didn't used to. Just going to say it.
These are really deep thoughts by Brian tonight.
Yeah, I like squeeze cheese. So we all like things that are
Stupid.
a bit shameful.
I've got a question for the room. Can I ask the question, or should
You don't need my permission.
Okay. Well, I know, but I wanted to let you.
No, I
continue.
appreciate that.
Who had the best death? We got 5 candidates here. This is multiple choice. We got Todd in the bathroom. We got Terry getting hit by the bus out of nowhere. We got Mrs. Luton, vodka, caramelized blood, knife to the chest. We got Billy, decapitated by the train. And then we got Carter with the sign in Paris. What's the best death scene?
I'm going to go with none of the above. I'm going to go with the plane blowing up and the whole whatever 11th grade getting exploded. That was the best death scene for me by far.
Okay. Who died in that scene? Who'd you see die in that scene?
39 children.
But you never saw any of them die. You only saw a plane like
And
10
one
miles
You saw
child
them
and
in
one
a
handicapped
you
person.
did see them die. You saw
that
them
was-
die in a sequence
That was a
was
vision. That was his vision.
But it's exactly what happened. He envisioned the
No, it's not
the real
because he
future.
wasn't there. In this vision, he died a gruesome death.
That's a good
Remember, he
point.
got burnt in the
That's
vision.
true.
I was like, whoa, they're showing him just get incinerated, but he never even died. So
I'm gonna guess it's pretty damn similar.
I'm
Plane
being
blew up.
cheeky. I'm being cheeky. That's a great death scene.
I think it's. I don't know. I think it has to be Todd's death. I've mentioned it already, but like that was very impactful when I was younger. Like that was really dark and really twisted. I felt like his pain, like his that was. It felt really. I don't know. It's
Of the
very
ones you
interesting.
listed, I agree with Grizz. I think that was the
Todd's was pretty dark. I
Yeah,
mean, I
the most
still
intense,
remember
for
like
sure.
the bus hit, and I remember like the teacher in the house, like the stab, like all that stuff. I remember all that vividly. And it's really strange that this held that much memory to me 23 years later.
Yeah, the bus hit and the decapitation were kind of the same. Carter
Yeah.
was just extra at the end.
Yeah.
I think Mrs. Luton is a close second, but Todd is the winner. Yeah,
I mean, that Carter at the end, though, that might have been like my first inclination of like a cliffhanger that was like, oh shit. Like that, I remember that being like an immediate end to the movie, and now you have to wait for something else. Like that might have been the first time I've ever seen a cliffhanger.
You're talking about Carter's death?
Yeah.
Yeah, yep.
I've only got one more slow burn topic, and we're going to end at the beginning. I want to say something about the credits, the opening credits of this movie. I thought they were really classy. I thought they were very old school horror. I thought they kind of alluded to a lot of the things that were going to happen in the movie with just kind of objects and other sort of, just visuals that weren't, it was slow moving. It was kind of, showing like a passport and plane tickets and kind of all this kind of death imagery. and I thought it set a nice vibe, and it felt classy to me. It felt kind of old school to me, which was very welcome, I thought.
You know what I bet happened. You kind of enlightened me that there was the writers of this were writing an X-Files episode, and I wonder if the majority of their episode revolved around the plane, and then there was only a little bit sort of at the end that sort of like kind of hashed out kind of what happens. So I wonder if that's why they spent so much time on that part of the movie. It's in the opening credits. It's by far the most planned out and storyboarded part of the film and most stylistic.
It's the best part.
It's the best part
Easily.
by far. So I wonder if, like, as you said, they were told, don't make this. You need to go make this into a movie because this is better than an X-Files episode or whatever. And so I wonder if like the rest of the movie was just kind of added on, kind of extrapolated from the core here. That would track.
That would make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I fucking love the title sequence to this movie. I'm a big fan of title sequences, especially one of my favorite of all time is the opening sequence of Catch Me If You Can.
I just rewatched that last week. Great movie.
So good.
Very good.
So good. I have a tiny bit of issues with the third act of that film, but I love the title sequence and how they told the entire story. The entire film
they
is
kinda
in the
did,
entire title sequence.
It's sort of the retro, and the John Williams score.
And then
over the top.
as soon as
So
the movie
good.
ends, it plays it in reverse, and you see it. And then when we reviewed The Gray Man recently in a previous episode,
the bronze,
it was the exact
people.
same. They played the entire movie, and then at the end, they played it in reverse.
Nice.
Brilliant.
Good catch.
Ending at the beginning.
Love
It's
it.
a classy thing to do. This is Critical Mess. We've come to the end, I think, of another. I'm sure everyone
Do we
will
make
agree.
it to our final destination?
I think so, and I think everyone's will agree this was a brilliant episode,
Oh my gosh,
full of insight and wisdom, nuggets.
it was somewhat brilliant.
It was somewhat brilliant. And the thing is, we're going to do another episode. And, well, first of all, before I even get into that, I want to give a hearty and a deep and sincere thanks to anyone who listens to us and has made it this far into the episode.
It's just your grandma, right?
Bless you. Yes.
Isn't
Anyone?
she's our listener, right?
Yes. I think. Does anyone listen to us that's not related to us?
Oh,
Well,
for sure not.
Other than
no.
Nick's grandmother and almost 2,000 other listeners in total.
No, that's a lie.
No, I mean total listens. over
Brian's wife does.
Yes.
She listens in the room.
in person. Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think if I heard you right there, I think we've got 200 million listens so far.
Yes,
Old Elk, holler at
200
us. I mean, 1792.
So let's just say 200 million impressions.
We're building. That's what I'll say.
We're gonna send a lot of people your way. 1792 and Guinness Dragnet.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing about what I found out?
Oh, yes, please.
Fact check.
There's an alternate ending.
Oh.
So an alternate ending. Alex was supposed to die after Clear exited the Toyota Corolla, and it ignites and he dies inside, or he dies inside the garage.
The garage, yeah.
And then several months later, Clear is in the hospital giving birth to a son, and they cut that out.
Oh, interesting.
Do
we like that?
because in Final Destination 2, they say only life can deny death.
Mm.
So they were supposed to preface Final Destination 2 with this only life begets death. It's not great.
No, thank you. That's a
But
hard no
was
for me.
that was the only other thing I could find.
I respect that
about
as a
the-
potential gimmick here, though.
Yeah.
Like, because isn't there one of those movies like It Follows, or one of those movies where it's like, or is it Barbarian, where like you can have the thing skip you if you kill somebody or something like that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
No, thank you on that one.
We can also cut all that out.
no, but I
yeah,
love it.
that
No,
was-
I like that discussion.
So
now.
so that makes sense, but I can see why they kept, because it did seem a little weird. Like, wait a minute, he sacrificed his life, and
Right.
that would make more sense of an ending, I think.
Yeah, because it makes more sense here because it's life for death.
Yeah.
He was giving his life for her,
Yeah, but he didn't.
or he was
die.
giving his life to die. That's hard. But he sacrificed himself in that moment. I think that's the moment for him to be able to sacrifice himself.
There's some plot holes with the mechanics.
Oh,
Let's
there's
just put-
plot
let's
holes
just-
in this
let's
movie?
Just put it that way.
Critical Mess is on social media. You heard right. We're blowing up. It's a big deal. And we want your support. Because we're shameless. And because you're awesome. And because we need each other.
So please follow us at Critical Mess Crew on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok.
Heck yeah, man.
TikTok.
TikTok.
What's that?
Come hang out with us,
What are we
guys.
doing on TikTok?
There's those little tiny candies that you eat for a fresh breath.
Oh, yeah.
You can get them at Kroger's.
Delightful.
You guys check us out. You'll be able to see what we look like. Actually, maybe that'll kind of ruin things.
No, I think that's actually what are you
that's
talking
the greatest
about?
mystery of all time is finding a voice and then matching a face to it.
Yeah.
Well, also, I mean, we're hot.
Yeah, that's true. Especially in this lighting.
Yeah, well, whatever. I'm hot. Whatever you guys think about yourselves.
Check us out, y'all.
So, we're doing another movie. The next one we're going to do is going to be Resident Evil.
Spooky November.
Resident Evil, in keeping with our spooky theme. And I think that's going to cap off our spooky theme
That'll be
month.
it.
Is that right?
We're going to do like the most family-friendly like musical next after that, maybe.
Something for the kids.
Something
because
not
Critical Mess
horror.
is for the kids.
It's first and foremost for the kids.
I think, isn't that what we always said from the first episode? Critical Mess is for the kids.
So we're going to keep it clean, keep the content clean, get the language clean for the kids.
Just like Wu-Tang.
Just like Wu-Tang. And we're going to, at least we'll beep things, maybe. Or not. No, we're going to keep it explicit because this is Critical Mess.
So
damn it.
Resident Evil, you said,
And
right?
we're gonna talk about Resident Evil
Evil.
from
All
the tie into the video game franchise. Came out a while ago. I don't even know the year, but I was pretty young when it came out, and I'm looking forward to chatting about it because I think there might be a bit of tension and disagreement, but maybe
hope
not.
so.
Who knows? I hope so too. I think it might be fun.
There was a notable lack of animosity this episode, so we need to really come back to our
we do need to
roots.
ramp that up.
Bad Boys 2 was our second episode, and that was like when things got real saucy. So we need to kind of
Well,
really...
Last Jedi was,
and then Last
was
Jedi just took it to
extremely-
the nines.
What
Lot
a
of
piece
sauce.
of shit film,
We-
The Last
you-
Jedi.
Fuck you.
Well, listen to the episode. Just listen to the episode for the full story. All right, this has been Critical Mess. We had fun, like we always do, and thank you for tuning in. We're out.
See ya.
Later, gang.